Egypt and Syria, the union of the tyrants and the dream of unity that has excited since time immemorial. Always when the mention of Syria comes with the mention of Egypt and history, a people, a language, and a common destiny. And often from the rule of these two countries, he built a frightening empire. Egypt and then the great conquest and the entry of the true religion into the blessed lands. When the Islamic State expanded under the leadership of the rightly guided Caliphs, and after them the Umayyad, the relationship of trade, marriage, intermarriage, and migration increased between the states of the newly established state. Damascus was the capital of the Umayyad Caliphate, where progress, civilization, life, and luxury were present. Caravans of merchants moved between Cairo, Damascus, and Baghdad, which made people contact more, and relations began to develop between the two peoples with the passage of time, especially since security was established on the trade routes. The rulers came in the era of the Umayyad state and then come to Abbasid era, which was an era in its beginning and golden. The Arabs were advancing in science, astronomy, medicine, industry, science, and everything, and Egypt and Syria were among the highly advanced countries at that time. And after the weakness of the Abbasid state, actually independent states began to emerge from the state and linked by name to it. The most important of these states is the Ayyubid state, which was founded by Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi and included Syria, Egypt, and Palestine after he liberated Jerusalem from the Crusaders, and the people lived in prosperity and safety for a period that extended to their children. And the unity of Egypt and Syria extended beyond the names of countries. Peoples become more integrated with the passage of hundreds of years, and the era of the Fatimids came, who also treated the rule of Egypt and Syria, and Cairo was a beacon of saints and saints in their time, and the manifestations of urban civilization began to take a similar character. In Syria and Egypt, the union between these two states remained as if this was their destiny. After the demise of the Fatimids, the Mamluks succeeded, who in turn ruled Syria and Egypt. In the Mamluk era, the national identity of the people began to emerge in these two states, and the movement of advanced urbanization began to appear, many of which still exist to this day in Damascus and Cairo and other cities. And in 1560, the Ottoman Sultan Yavuz Selim entered Aleppo to destroy the first line of the Mamluk state and was able to break the Mamluks in the Battle of Margdabik, especially since the governor of Aleppo had betrayed the state and joined the invader Selim. Syria fell into the hands of the Ottomans, and Selim's army continued the advance to meet the rest of the Mamluks with the Battle of Raidaniya in Egypt, which took place between Tuman Bey Sultan of the Mamluks and Sultan Selim I of the Ottoman Empire, which ended with the defeat of Tuman Bey and his execution at Bab Zuwayla, ending the rule of the Mamluks and the beginning of the Ottoman control over Egypt as well. And the new era began for these two states with one fate under the rule of the Ottoman, Egypt and Syria, to form a strong advanced state that frightened the West of that time with its rapid progress and its arrival to the top in a short time. The West feared the emergence of a new Islamic empire whose nucleus would buy Syria and Egypt and take the place of the weak Ottoman Empire at that time. And this is what made them support to Ottoman Empire, which was able to recover southern Anatolia and Syria after it had fallen into the hands of Ibrahim Pasha, who opened it and snatched it from the high gate. To the war between the Ottoman Empire and Muhammad Ali ended on the independence agreement in Egypt for him and his sons after him, and Syria remained under Ottoman rule, splitting for the first time in more than 1,000 years into two different states. Nevertheless, Egypt remained under the minimal subordination of the Ottoman Empire until its fall. Syria and Egypt were affected by the rule of Ibrahim Pasha, who had adopted a strict and strong regime that reflected the welfare of the Arab peoples in Syria and Egypt, which made this period an influential period in modern history. After the outbreak outbreak of World War I and the fall of the Ottoman Empire, modern state were formed and the states adopted new principle of nationalism. Egyptian and Syrian nationalism appeared, but the Arab peoples remained one despite the constriction of the illusory borders between them. All of the people didn't despair of the dream of unity. People never despair, and if one day the people wanted life, then fate must respond. On February 22, 1958, the union between Egypt and Syria was announced, and the dream that millions of people has wished for was released. A President Shukri al-Kuwatli, president of the Syrian Arab Republic, abdicated the rule of Syria in favor of the president of Egypt, Mr. Jamal Abdel Nasser, and the establishment of the United Arab Republic was announced, but this dream wasn't fully released. After no more than 2 years, this modern political entity was aborted by a military coup in Syria and the announcement of the establishment of the Arab Republic, Syria, and the separation from Egypt. And this dream remained valid from generations who passed it on from their parents and grandparents, and they bequeathed it in turn to their children and grandchildren. Perhaps the time will come, we will unite them again, and we will see the dream come true. Wikitube, the first audiovisual encyclopedia in the English version.